Hey everyone and welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. My name is Dr. Sofi Sauce, and I'm a physical therapist here in Montgomery, Alabama, working predominantly with pediatrics. I'm honored to be presenting in partnership with the Down Syndrome Diagnosis Network. If you're a parent or caregiver, I want you to know that being here already shows how deeply you care about your child. Today, we'll talk about how Down syndrome can affect movement, how physical therapy supports development, and how you can help your child build strength and confidence at home. One of the most important messages I want to share is this: children with Down syndrome will learn to move. They will sit, they will crawl, they will walk, they will run, and they'll get to play. The timeline may look different, and that difference is okay. Children with Down syndrome often have low muscle tone, also called hypotonia. This means the muscles feel softer and don't provide as much support at rest. This does not mean that your child is weak or incapable. It simply means they need more repetition and time to build strength. Another common factor is joint laxity, meaning the ligaments around the joints are more flexible. This can affect stability, posture, balance, especially when learning new skills like walking, running, jumping, crawling, all the things. Because of these factors, children may sit with wider bases of support, rely on joint locking. Think about sometimes kids are standing and you look over at them and their knees are all the way locked out. This is sometimes something they can rely on in a standing position. They also might fatigue a little bit more quickly, but these are problem solving strategies, not necessarily failures by any means. So let's talk a little bit about how development happens on a different timeline. One of the most common questions I hear is, when will my child walk? And the honest answer that everybody hates to hear: it depends. Children with Down syndrome follow the same developmental sequence as other children, just at their own pace. Delays don't necessarily equal deficits, but different does not mean less. So we're probably going to do everything in the same way that other children do it, thinking of first we learn to roll, then we learn to sit, then we learn to get out of sitting, then we learn to crawl, then we learn to stand up and cruise, then we learn to walk, then we learn to run, right? So every attempt your child makes builds the foundation for future movement. What we can do at home is what a physical therapist should be teaching you. Physical therapy doesn't only happen in the clinic. Some of the best strengthening opportunities happen during everyday routines. Floor time is essential. We want to encourage active movement, transitions, and exploration. Strength is built through movement, not just holding a position like sitting or standing. You do not need to have any fancy equipment. Consistency, patience, and allowing your child to try are what matter the most. We're also able to really get creative at home. Think using a table, using a upside down laundry basket, using the side of the couch, using the nugget couch or a stack of blankets. It doesn't have to be anything really extravagant. You probably have something at home that you'll be able to use. And I feel like that's not talked about a lot. So I'm going to include a couple of different age-based tips based off of age. So we're going to start with under 1 year. For infants, we want to focus on tummy time. We also really, really love sideline play, where the baby is on the floor or on something that's really safe and stable, and we're laying them on their side so that way they're not feeling like they only have to be on their belly or only have to be on their back. This adds a lot of different vantage points and just different perspective that they might not be getting while they're on their belly or on their back. We also want to have a lot of supported sitting. I usually encourage a lot of patients, if you have a boppy or a nursing pillow of some sort, you can put it on either put it on them backwards or put it on them so like around their back. So then that way they're able to sit in that hole that is really more for like the nursing pillow aspect, but we're able to really take advantage of that hole and make it to where they can use their arms to help them sit up. We can also really practice a lot of bringing hands at midline. So that's either on their backs, we want to play with things in the middle, we want to lay them on their side, and then that way we can play with our hands. Naturally, gravity's helping us. There's a bunch of different tips that you can kind of play around with while playing with your child in those different positions. Tummy time can also be modified. I know that that is something that everybody harps on, but there's a lot of different ways that we can do tummy time without feeling like you're just letting your child lay on the floor for a long period of time, or if they feel like they're really uncomfortable. There's some ways that we can kind of get around that that also counts as tummy time. Some of those you might have heard, might not have heard of, but some of those modifications are where baby can lay on your chest, they can lay over a pillow, once again using that boppy, or using a rolled up towel can also be used as a boppy, or across your legs. All of those count as tummy time. We want to limit extended time in containers to allow more movement variety. So when I'm talking about containers, I'm speaking specifically about bouncers. For babies under a year, we might go ahead and put them in an activity center or an exerciser. Those count as containers. So something that is bringing the baby to stay in one spot. When we're thinking about bouncers, I like to tell my patients a lot of the time to keep you accountable for how much time they're going to be in a container. I want you to match that time on the floor or counting time on their tummy or on their sides. So it kind of makes you think, how often is my child laying on the floor on their belly? How long are they staying in that bouncer? I feel like the bouncer or like the baby Bjorn, something like that, where they're laying, like lying on their back. That changes the amount of pressure that we're putting on our head. And we want to make sure that we're allowing that cranium or the back of their head to really form nice and round and symmetrical. Um, so that those are a couple of tips that I have for under one. Now, when thinking of your child 1 to 3 years old, this stage often includes crawling, pulling to stand, cruising, which means holding onto furniture and walking one way or the other, along with early walking. So when your child is this age, after they've pulled to stand or started crawling, they're standing up on their own while holding on to something. We want to encourage squatting, so putting toys on the floor that they're bringing up to the top of the couch or on the top of a table. On the edge of an ottoman, bringing toys up and down. That's already creating a lot of squatting for them. We also want to encourage cruising along furniture. So think about using a lot of the furniture and things that you might already have in your house, such as a couch, such as an ottoman, something like that, where you're able to allow them to hold on to things and play with them while they're on those ottoman or while they're pulled to stand all the way. So you can take some beads. Babies love a bead. Some a string of beads, or we can also think about like a ball or a toy that we really like. Put that at different ends of the sofa, of the couch, of the ottoman, so that they're really encouraged to move left and right as well. And then we also want to start bringing in push toys. I actually have one sitting right here. Let me grab for it. Didn't think it was going to be that loud. Sorry. But these like little push walkers, I really like them. You can get them as intricate or decorative as you want. There's some that are really simple. Um, but I really, really like a push walker. Not only does it really encourage them to stand, but it gives them a little bit of independence and freedom, to where we can get up on our walker and walk across the room, or push that walker, even if we push it up against the dining room table, or where we're stuck and we just keep hitting the same thing. That exact same concept, we want to really encourage a lot of independence for them. And I really like the push walker for that reason. It also is able to play, you're also able to play in hands and knees in on the front side while being entertained in front of you. So thinking of your child in hands and knees in a crawling position in front of that walker is kind of giving them different tasks that they can do in that position. And that sometimes those are a little bit harder to find. So we also really like a lot of safe exploration, which includes crawling, cruising, walking on their own or early walking with the push walker on their own. Some babies, I've seen videos that patients have brought in and they're like, so guess what we played with this weekend? It was our diaper box. And they use it, and it is so fun to see them use things that can glide across the floor like a laundry basket. I'm going to keep talking about a laundry basket. That's one of my favorite things to use. And it goes underrated a lot. But you can literally get them to do a lot of independent play with almost anything. I think a big joke in the pediatric world is give them anything but a toy and they'll play with it, right? Like thinking of a water bottle or, like I said, the diaper box or something silly that there's no way that they would be picking that over a $70 toy or something like that. Like there's so many things that kids do that they are able to explore on their own. And sometimes that's not a toy. So encourage that kind of play. We love building an imagination. So allow safe falls. So obviously, we're not trying to let our baby fall and crack their head on the floor, but creating an environment where, once again, they can explore on their own. They're able to really have a great time and have this independent play time where they can really push the limits. This helps them build confidence, balance, stability, so many things. And I feel like sometimes it's easy for us to want to put baby in a bubble, but we want them to build this confidence going forward from a foundational aspect of their lives, right? So now we can move to age 3 and up. So, as children grow, therapy focuses more on coordination, endurance, and participation. So, we're making a lot of things happen that might be on a playground or something that they might experience at school or something they might experience at the church nursery or daycare or mother's morning out. Whatever it is, we want them to feel really confident and be able to start working on those more advanced skills, such as stepping up and down a curb, getting in and out of the car on their own. Those all can be worked on while they're on a playground, thinking of the steps in a playground, stepping over big things, getting into and out of a swing on their own, going down the slide on their own, getting up the stairs. Like there's so many things that playgrounds and outdoor activity centers have for children. But that's why in the clinic, and usually sent home with you for homework, we have a lot of kids working on a lot of independence in those areas. So we're working on a lot of coordination, such as throwing and catching a ball, kicking a ball, a lot of things that we're going to be starting to see recreationally as well. Endurance is going to start building around this time. So we're working on keeping them walking with us when we're at the grocery store, right? Or walking around the park or around the playground so that we're not tuckering out. I would assume some babies or some of our kids might have already been exposed to bracing at this point. I feel like 2 and 3 is a big time when we get braces, especially because that's a really higher chance of when we start walking or standing on our own. So don't be alarmed if your PT suggests that we should add in physical, I mean, if we should add in orthotics or braces, such as SMOs, which are the ones that go right above the ankle bones. Your child might be suggested, it might be suggested to your child to get AFOs, which are the ones that go right below the knee. It just depends on what type of stability your child might need some help with. But that goes back to us talking about hypotonia and that joint laxity. Those braces are made to help give an external support so that we can work on standing, we can work on hip development, we can work on a lot of stability coming from the knees or just like the kinetic chain up. We want to create stability at the ankles and around the ankles and knees so that we can continue to build strength off of that. So as the child grows, like I said, we're working on our coordination, endurance, and participation. We want to work on activities like climbing the stairs, jumping, running, biking, swimming, and playground play are all excellent ways to build strength. Exactly what I just explained. If you're in an area where they have, I think in Montgomery, we have one center I'm trying to think of that is able to measure children. And I think that a lot of PTs or pediatric PTs in the area were given the same like paperwork that we could do to measure a child's like different parts of their body to help them get a personalized, it's called an Amtrak. And so I'm not sure if y'all have that in your area as well. But a lot of the time you can look it up and see there might be directories to see if in your area there are different bikes or adaptive equipment, such as an Amtrak, that might have support from to be able to help, like parents can help kind of steer a little bit, or we might have one that's more an arm bike rather than the feet, or all four going at the same time. There's a couple different options with that adaptive equipment, and it just kind of depends on what's available in your area. So I would look that up. Based off of different directories that might show PTs that might have good connections with that, or OTs as well usually have a really great connection for adaptive equipment as well. So I definitely would encourage you to reach out, and if you're already getting services, you can ask them if they've ever heard of any different adaptive equipment. I really have enjoyed working with Amtrak. Um, Watch me be saying that wrong. I'm picturing the word. It's Amtrak. That could I don't think that's wrong, but I'm pretty confident it's Amtrak, but now I'm questioning everything. Okay, so now that a great segue talking about equipment and tools. So families often ask about walkers or gait trainers and orthotics. So these tools are supports, not crutches. It can kind of get scary thinking, oh my gosh, if we put these on now, will this prevent something from happening? The goal for everybody involved when working with your child should be to be working on independence. So if they see that gait trainer as a huge help in being able to get your child standing and walking and allowing them to build strength that way, please look into it and know that their goal is independence as well. We have early intervention can also be a way that you can receive those different types of equipment. So ask your PT, ask your OT, ask your early intervention specialists. They should be able to help you move forward with getting you those types of equipment. And I really encourage you to look into them if you feel like it would help going on family walks. We see a bunch of family that's able to bring um, the like the little ones are able to go with them so that they can now go on a family walk as a family of four, and nobody's having to really, only put the baby in the stroller or do anything like that. Like you're able to really create a functional lifestyle. Just now we're using different supports such as walkers and gait trainers. Equipment helps the children access movement while skills are developing. Needs change over time and should be guided by your therapy team. So that's when we should be bringing in orthotists and prosthetists. They usually are one and the same. So that's why I said some people call them O and Ps and I call them P&Os. But prosthetists and orthotists usually are working together or they are both, and they're working to make sure that we're giving stability in order to gain independence, and in order to reach those milestones, and help them get to the finish line, right? So I would really encourage you to talk to your team. You know how to advocate for your child. Um, and I think it's really, really important for your child to have the equipment that they need, and make sure, like, you don't be afraid to ask questions to a lot of your providers, because they should all be on the same page. If they haven't offered it yet, they might have a reason why they haven't. But ask questions. That's how we're gonna find out what's available in your area. That's how we're gonna find out what the best route might be. There might be a reason they're waiting for a walker, or they're thinking, okay, once we get to cruising, then let's add a gait trainer. But like, as of right now, I wouldn't want that to be something to hold them back. So there's different reasons for what PTs like decide we should go forward with first. So, like I said, don't be afraid to ask any of those options, if those would work best for your family, or what could work best for your family. So, in conclusion, I want you to know your child is capable. They're learning and growing every single day. Progress may not be linear, but every single effort matters, and you are doing so, so well. Celebrate the small wins, they really do add up. Make sure that we're not getting caught up in the if, ands, or buts, and we are really able to encourage our children to be able to move forward and hit those milestones, whether it's a mini teeny weeny one or a gigantic milestone such as walking, right? Thank y'all so much for being here, for advocating so strongly for your child. And I'm so grateful and honored to have been asked to come on today.